Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and what a day of Call of Duty we had. The second game of the day was absolutely spectacular. So many implications from this one as to exactly what's going to happen for the remainder of the weekend, but also some places certainly locked in for the seeding for the major. If you take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. And of course, the main topic of discussion for the day was Huke's first series in this Los Angeles Thieves lineup. Incredibly exciting stuff, going against, of course, none other than Priestahh on the subliners now. Two players which have, of course, left the Dallas Empire over the course of the last several months or so. Of course, Priestahh removed when it went 5v5 to 4 versus 4 right after their World Championship victory way back in August or whenever it was now. Pretty sure it was the last day of August, first day of September that he got dropped off of that team in remarkable fashion. And just a few months later, we now see Huke on a similarly good team, to be honest, right now, with Dallas Empire surprisingly arguably worse than both of these squads. I think that is certainly fair to say. So the matches are pretty interesting. I was actually thinking the Thieves might come here with the absolute fire, but New York are just so good right now. We'll certainly dive into that series in a couple of minutes time. Now the first series of the day, I thought I'd mention this actually from FeNix real quick over at the Easter team. Mancat joining the coaching staff. They have an absolute unit of the coaching staff over there right now. So many guys on that team that well, not only playing on the squad of course, but also coaching that squad. So pretty cool to see how well all these guys are getting involved. And yes, Toronto Ultra did play the first series of the day up against the Paris Legion. This was honestly an absolute clinic from the Toronto Ultra once again. Yes, they play Paris, but they were already 4-0, locked up, #1 seed guaranteed for the major from Group A, even going into this series. That is remarkable to say, especially given the fact that they were playing, the weakest team in the group right now here in Paris Legion. They get the job done in pretty impressive fashion. They win the map 1, relatively comfortably. It felt like it was always in their back pocket. And then they go to a Raid Search and Destroy, where this team is just so good. I think playing this team on Raid Search has always been a scary sign. I don't think they've really been able to play it for too long, really, now, because all the teams are banning it against them, right? Because no one wants to play Ultra on Raid Search and Destroy, and especially no one wants to play Insight on it. But actually, it was Insight not really doing too much here, sitting at 4 and 5. The rest of the guys just dominating, and well, so many of their rounds were just so clinical. I mean, Untouchable in Search and Destroy, I think a stat came up on screen that they were 11-1 in their last 12 Search and Destroys. That is outrageous. 6 wins in a row now for them in Search and Destroy. And yeah, simply cannot be touched right now. 2-0 here up against the Paris Legion. And then, well, they finish off the job in pretty emphatic fashion as well. So another 3-0 sweep. Their result in this group is absolutely ridiculous. I'm pretty sure they have a 15-1 map count this stage in their group. That is honestly incredible to hear. And they go into the major as honestly clear favourites right now. Who is stopping Ultra? They finished stage 3 5-0. We haven't seen a team do this, of course, since way back in Stage 1, where FaZe did it to great effect, but they did not have the map count that Toronto Ultra did right here. This is absolutely out of control stuff. And well, you can see Toronto tweeted that right here. I believe it was against the Minnesota Rokkr that this was actually a 3-1, but all the other series are 3-0 against the Mutineers, 3-0 against the Dallas Empire, 3-0 Gorillas, 3-1 I'm pretty sure it was against the Minnesota Rokkr, now a 3-0 against the Paris Legion, 15-1. Who's going to stop this team? I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're clear favourites for the major right now. They're going to start in a great seed for the winners bracket, and we're also going to have to discuss the other team which is going to start in the #1 position in the other side, that being the Group B side of things. That is going to be the subliners, as we will dive into. As Marky B says, the squad finished stage 3 gets to the 5-0 record. Another 10 points on the board as well, which is pretty massive for their potential World Championship seeding, which of course is going to be huge down the line, and it's going to be a continued topic of discussion that we bring up on the channel, of course. These next couple of months, every single major, every single series, every single major especially, has big implications of where these teams might be seeded for the World Championship, which of course has massive implications for where they might end up placing and what positions they end up getting. So this was really the blockbuster series of the day, the marquee matchup. Los Angeles Thieves versus the New York Subliners, Huke versus Priestahh. Incredible, great to see Huke back in the league, certainly. And he didn't have exactly the pop-off series that you might have maybe expected Huke coming back with the absolute fire, but honestly, Subliners are just such a well-rounded team right now, and Huke certainly did have his moments as well, as we are going to dive into in the coming minutes. So game #1, this was Subliners just putting on an absolute clinic, right? And their hardpoint has been impeccable. These guys, early on, it was very much a back and forth affair here on the Garrison, but the second half of this game, again, they blow it wide open. Hydra's just absolutely piecing people. Priestahh, I'm pretty sure this lobby's crazy in the sense that it had like 5 of the 6 highest slaying players in the entirety of hardpoint for stage 3 in this lobby or something, some crazy stat like that. Priestahh was up there, Hydra's been up there, certainly Asim's been putting up numbers. Kenny, of course, deserves a mention on the Thieves side as well. And yes, Thieves get kind of crushed map 1, but we've seen New York do this to a lot of teams as of late on many maps, Apocalypse especially. But here we see them do it to a very solid Los Angeles Thieves team on Garrison hardpoint. So map number was really not close at all, and I thought, okay, maybe Thieves will actually run run away on the other end of the series and get completely dominated. And I mean, you can see right here, Drazah doesn't have the greatest map. Mac actually does a phenomenal work right here at a 1.8. So definitely he needs a shout out because the last couple of series, he has been absolutely spectacular and going off and proving why he does belong on this team. Because there was some discussion, right? You know, there was a rumours that Simp was being considered in place of Mac on this team initially. There was certainly some chaos that went after their, well, tragic result 0-6, I believe, in maps at the Stage 2 Major. But here they go into the Stage 3 Major with the absolutely perfect situation for them. Well, I mean, they're number 1 seed, as we will look at in a second. That gives them a massive leg up to actually get through this. And honestly, a shock, right? Coming to, well, Stage 3, if you'd have told me a couple of stages ago that it would have been New York and it would have been Toronto Ultra getting the number 1 seeds, that would have been certainly a remarkable thing, especially when we look at the group that New York subliners have right here. Into the Search and Destroy was a back and forth affair. This is when Thieves, you'd have thought, should have found a way to close this one out. Asim had some great moments in this map as well, and he clutched a 1 versus 1 all the way in the round 11 to take this Miami. It was honestly a kind of crazy Miami. I'm not really sure it should have gone exactly the way it did. Certainly some mistakes being made from either side. Los Angeles Thieves, especially at key moments. But yeah, Asim is an absolute monster of a round right here. Gets the job done, and in the final round as well, clutches up in a pretty impressive fashion. They win this in round 11. That was massive for New York to clutch up here. It felt like if Thieves managed to close this one out, we really did have a series on our hands. And we certainly did have a series on our hands when we go into this raid control, which was absolutely spectacular. This may have been the best raid control of the year so far. There was so many crazy moments in this. Honestly, so many raid controls this year have been so good. There's well, a lot that come to mind. The 0.11, I'm sure you guys remember Minnesota Rokkr versus Dallas Empire from the previous major. There's a lot, honestly, the Dallas Empire have played on this map that have been phenomenal, but this one was absolutely spectacular. Huke right here at the end. I mean, you can see Hydra at the cutouts. He completely beams Clayster across the map, turns on Hydra to get the kill onto the guy cutout and well, close this round out in spectacular fashion. That was a huge offense for them to win. Then I'm pretty sure Clayster and co win the next offense, and then it goes to a final round of this map, and this was just an absolutely phenomenal round. You can see it's coming down to time. At this point, it's 3-5, but early on, New York actually, I think, had something of a life advantage. And honestly, the guys on the Thieves clutched up massively, and they managed to close this round out in spectacular fashion. It was such a good control, and honestly, it was great to see, right? I was really hoping the series would go the distance. At least we would get to see another respawn. And it's New York who just nearly got over the line, but Thieves managed to clutch up. We've seen a team like Thieves do this a couple of times. Kenny, honestly, going off right here. Huke had a great map as well, at least in terms of engagements. The amount of pressure that Huke puts on the map, even if he isn't dropping a 1.2, is spectacular to witness. And this is what Thieves really have, well, going in their favour when the possibilities are there. But there were certainly some mistakes being made from their side. We'll see that in the hardpoint as well that we dive into right here. Thought these were some crazy stats as well. Hardpoint KD, since adding Hydra to the team, he has a 1.38 as Hydra. Clace is right up there as well. And this, of course, was entering today before this matchup up against the Los Angeles Thieves. But it goes in similar fashion once again. You see some Clace right here during the middle of this game talking about how, you know, this guy got absolutely destroyed over towards this rotation. And this was a very close hardpoint given the fact that New York have kind of been blowing teams out as of late. But it really does come down to the wire in the end, and subliners just about clutch up. There was a very interesting spawn that Hydra got that did have a fair bit of discussion about how it, well, allowed Los Angeles Thieves to get pinched on pretty hard over towards this final hardpoint. Certainly did help them out somewhat, but there was some discussion afterwards. The fact that Los Angeles Thieves knew that it was a possibility. They kind of thought that Hydra had indeed got this spawn, and yeah, they were just thinking that is kind of how the map goes. And Clayster and the team getting hyped as per usual at this point. So phenomenal work from the subliners. They come out absolutely swinging in this one, as Clay and, well, Kenny say right here. That spawn was not BS. It wasn't even, you know, we even called it in our communications. It was just a guessing game of what was going to happen at that point. As subliners tweet out, this will be a day long remembered. Darth, Clayder, Huke, I am your father. And, as Revan says right here, number 1 seed. So it is official in an absolutely incredible group that they had, especially with the likes of Atlanta FaZe, OpTic Chicago, Los Angeles Thieves, Seattle Surge and Ravens, of course. In addition to the subliners lock up the number 1 seed, which is incredible stuff from them. That gives them a great leg up, honestly, going into this major. And honestly, in pretty shock fashion, given the fact that, well, honestly, I thought FaZe was going to manage to take it in that group, and OpTic would have been there or thereabouts. Only one of those two teams will qualify in the winners bracket, as we'll look at in a second right here when they play up against each other tomorrow. Subliners secure the number 1 seed. Mackenzie Melds 3-1, 1.32 KD in this series. This guy's been, honestly, been absolutely on fire as of late. So fair play to Mac for turning up when it matters. And as Kenny says, GG's New York lost 3-1. Got some grinding to do for the major, work on fitting Kyler, that being Huke, into our system. So Honestly, these two teams are so fun to watch. New York, you never really know what you're going to get in terms of in certain game modes, but Hydra can pop up at any moment. All the players have such great takeover potential, and they really get hyped up when they win, which is great to see. And they honestly, they don't never know when to say die either. We've seen this team earlier on in the season as well. They can be down 2-0, they can be down 5-0 in a search and destroy. They still believe they can come back and win it, which does make them great to watch. On the Los Angeles Thieves side, I mean, this team is obviously going to be incredibly entertaining when you've got Huke on a lineup. You never really know how this team's going to progress over time. There was some questions given that Venom had a couple of difficult maps here, whether, okay, is TJ an option? He's still sitting there, of course, over the bench. They haven't traded him off as of yet, like the Dallas Empire did with Huke, so maybe they will consider options moving there going forwards, but I think, well, for now, this is perfectly reasonable. You're not really expected to beat New York in their first series coming in, especially a team that has now knocked up the #1 seed in that pool. The final series of the day was this one, Los Angeles Guerrillas versus the Florida Mutineers. These were the Group A implications for the match. So if Mutineers would have won, Florida would have been second, Guerrillas would have been fifth. If Guerrillas win, there were, well, some various tiebreakers depending on exactly what the map count would have been. Goes all the way, of course, though, to a game 5. Map #1 was kind of interesting because early on, the entire team of the Los Angeles Guerrillas just lagged out of the game. Apparently, the power dropped to their office. This was kind of interesting because we saw this happen to them just the other day when at least a couple of the players dropped off. And we kind of discussed the idea, like, okay, should the CDL mandate them to have some sort of better business on? I guess there's nothing really the CDL can do about this, or LNG can do about this at the end of the day. But yeah, still somewhat annoying that this side of stuff is happening. All of them drop out of the game. This is kind of funny for the Mutineers as well. Skies with the 3-piece, pops up, well, a nice little 3-piece here inside the plane, as the rest of the guys are, well, having a pretty merry time, as the Angeles Guerrillas have just all dipped from the game. But they do get back into the game, and Mutineers win this one pretty handily here on the checkmate, taking down the game in relatively expected fashion. And as Gunless says, I don't know who YY is more. Is it Neptune or is it Kenny? It's got to be real close. Personally, I'd give my, well, I'd tip the hat to Kenny in terms of who is YYing more, but well, certainly deserving of a mention is Neptune right now. We'll talk about exactly the implications for these groups here in just a second. And well, honestly, this Game 2 Express Search and Destroy was crazy in the sense that every single player had like some pop-off moment in this game. There was 3 pieces galore. Havoc had this crazy ace as well where he was dominating over towards these trains. I mean, there's quite a lot of trains on this map, so it doesn't really give too much indication of where he was, but load of great 1v1 clutches. Comes down to around 11, and it is Los Angeles Guerrillas that clutch up and take it when it matters. And it is very interesting to look at, I believe, the fact that it was only a couple of days ago the Florida Mutineers took down Dallas Empire, in fact only yesterday, and now they're here against a team like LIG, and still, well, the struggle bus does continue. The control is pretty interesting. Once again, we get this situation where we've got Los Angeles Guerrillas playing a map that isn't raid control and having a tough time. They're 0-5 now on this map, and Mutineers closed out pretty comfortably. I mean, there was a round early on the second round. LAG certainly had a chance to win one of their offenses. Doesn't happen though. Mutineers closed out in pretty impressive fashion. Map #4 was pretty interesting because MJ Chino was certainly putting some extra shots into the bodies right at the end here as they took it all the way to a game 5. And the search and destroy goes the way of the Florida Mutineers. They close this one out. It's a very hard fought series on the whole. They finally secure their spot in the winners bracket. It was certainly sketchy for a time. They get winners bracket. I believe they're going to be the 2nd seed or something along those lines, with the Dallas Empire and Minnesota Rokkr fighting it out for the 3rd seed tomorrow. This is how the groups stand at the present time. So Mutineers now at 3-2. Guerrillas locked down there. Pretty sure the victor of Rokkr Dallas Empire tomorrow gets that 3rd seed in Group A. And on the Group B side, it's not just about, I believe, the winner of OpTic and FaZe getting the 2nd seed. I kind of drew it up on a piece of paper right here. The way it works right now is Thieves are currently 3-1 against OpTic and they're 2-3 against FaZe. So the way it would work, you can imagine, is if if OpTic win, then all these teams will be 3-2, FaZe, Thieves and OpTic Chicago. Then I'm pretty sure it will come down to the head-to-head map count between those teams, as of which right now this is the situation that could transpire. If OpTic win 3-0, the map counts will be 5-4, 3-5 and 4-3. That means FaZe will go out. If OpTic win 3-1, then FaZe will be at 4-5, therefore FaZe will also go out. But if OpTic win 3-2, then OpTic still have a worse map count than FaZe overall, and therefore I'm pretty sure that OpTic have to win 3-1 or better to qualify tomorrow. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.